Okay, welcome to episode 3 of the DACC cast. You can go check out our previous podcasts on YouTube and Spotify and Apple Podcasts. We had some great panels. One of them was with Shelby, a bear. That was a city council theme. Today we just have a Shelby theme. So let's get to know the people behind Shelby's campaign a little personally. The field director for City Council District 2 candidate Shelby A. Bear. She studied anthropology and sociology at Rhodes College in Memphis, Tennessee. Bridget Blair. You can clap for her if you want to. And the campaign manager for Chico City Council District 2 candidate Shelby A. Bear. She studies psychology at Chico State University, Chico, Kim Michl.
Hello.
Okay, so we have someone here who's from out of state.
It's true.
Bridget, I would love to hear about your upbringing, just a little briefly, and then how you got to Chico.
A little bit of a long story. I was born and raised in San Antonio, Texas, and attended school up outside of Fort Worth, Texas. So Texas, born and raised through and through. You'll hear the accent come out only if I'm in the South. But I left Texas pretty quick. Went to school in Memphis, Tennessee, and got my degree in sociology. My focus was on urban agriculture and land use. And shortly after graduation, I moved up to Minneapolis, Minnesota in 2019. I had a fellowship there. I was meant to be a climate action fellow, and I quickly realized, well, it was an election year coming up. They were doing their city council elections in 2019, moving into 2020 presidential elections, and so they needed a political organizing fellow. It just so happened that in my high school, there was only a Young Republicans Club, and I thought that being a two-party system country, we should have at least a Young Democrats Club to go with. So I had really only ever worked on campaigns in that space where I was a Young Democrat. I founded the club at my high school with a friend, and I was phone banking out of our cafeteria for Wendy Davis, who was a gubernatorial candidate, and I was getting all sorts of really nasty responses from people on the phone as a 17-year-old in my high school cafeteria. And I thought, that is awful. Maybe I don't want to do that again. But when I was up in Minneapolis and they had this role for me, what can you do but, stand up to the task? And I again, didn't really have a ton of fun. I was text banking young voters for Bernie Sanders. I was door knocking for a city council candidate. And when the year ended, it was the middle of 2020. It was Minneapolis, so the Minneapolis uprisings were taking place, and the world was shut down, and I lost my job. My contract ended. And so I didn't really know where to go. I wasn't in a place where I was from, and I really had only had really kind of tenuous ties to the place, even though I loved Minneapolis. So for about 8 months, I lived back in Texas taking care of my grandma, trying to figure out what I was gonna do next, and it just so happened I had a friend from college in Memphis, living here in Chico. She was moving to Alaska and needed a subletter. I had just broken up with my boyfriend, so I said, yep, and I moved out here sight unseen.
Wow.
In 2021, and I haven't left. Just to wrap that up, in 2022, Addison Winslow was running and asked me to be his campaign manager, and I said no. I said, ask anybody else. And he went and asked somebody else who said no, so he came back to me, and I said, yeah, I'll do it. And I've been in Chico politics ever since.
And was this his second campaign or his first?
No, so he had stepped up to run in the recall election,
Okay.
and that recall didn't go through, so then he decided to run for District 4.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that when he won that was when it became a 6-1 council, or is that?
Yep, we won the
Wow.
only progressive seat on council.
Okay, and we'll get more to how pivotal kind of this race is too, for Shelby. Kim, you went to Chico State. Does that mean that you are from Chico?
You know, I grew up in northern Minnesota, about
Wow. Okay.
3 hours from the Canadian border. But I'm from Butte County. I was born in Paradise, actually, at the Feather River Hospital. And I grew up in Orrville till I was about 7. And then I moved to Minnesota with my mom because she decided she wanted to have a farm. So we got a farm.
What'd you grow?
Well, we had 22 horses. Yep. And chickens and pigs and cats and dogs and all the things. And we survived about 10 winters before my mom said enough of that. And we came back to California.
10. And the 11th, it was like, no, too much.
Yeah.
So how old were you when you came back to California?
I was 17.
Okay.
I was the middle of my senior year of high school.
Wow.
Yeah, I was very upset.
And did you go straight to Chico State from high school?
Well, yeah, pretty much. I took a little time off because at that point I didn't have California state residency, so I was going to have to pay out-of-state tuition. Right. So I took a semester off after high school, and I just worked. Yeah.
So, and I'll ask this of both of you. Was there like a moment maybe while you were in school where you decided that you wanted to be involved in the community or politically?
Yeah, it's actually a pretty neat story. I was going to Chico State, and I was very concerned about the climate, particularly. I was taking climate change very seriously, and I felt like not a lot of the people around me were. I was seeking, some guidance or some solace or some advice or anything from any of my professors, and they didn't really know what to say either. Just a reminder that my assignments were due. So I was a little bit annoyed about that. And I ended up taking a class called Environmental Thought and Action with Dr. Mark Steeman. A lot of you may know him. And
he was on the first episode.
Yeah, he's amazing and is now a good friend of mine. But I took his class, and he was the first professor that I had that actually took any of that kind of stuff seriously, and I felt like really just gave it to me straight. And he, in that class, well, I started in sustainability issues, which was a class just about sustainability. And I would talk to him after class for like hours, just kind of going on about it. And he said, I think you're in the wrong class. And he bumped me up into the higher level class, which was Environmental Thought and Action, which is an interesting class where you choose an issue and then you build an issue campaign. And so we chose Valley's Edge. And that was the birth of that campaign, actually, was out of that class. And we started organizing around it. And then I was the only student that ended up sticking with that campaign to the end. But after the semester ended, a lot of students kind of went back home or moved on to, taking more classes or into their careers or whatever. But I carried on with that campaign, and that was my first political campaign in Chico.
Wow. And then that had some real world effects.
Yeah.
Interesting. So we know, and you've told us kind of about your first involvement politically already at the beginning in high school, and in Chico with Addison. What's the bridge between? I know that you also had what was it? The Green City Coalition. Is that an endeavor that's still happening, or?
So it's currently not a legal entity, but we have the materials are still there, and it's a political action committee 527, and so it really only takes a couple submissions on the IRS website and with the FPPC to get it up and running again. But it's a project I started really probably in late 2023, and that was fully fledged by early 2024, and yeah, it was a really fun project. And I think what I realized running on the PAC side was that I really like working with candidates. I really like working and collaborating across campaigns, and you can't really do that from the PAC side.
Gotcha.
So it's an important funding mechanism. It's a vehicle for taking on large dollar donations and then being able to be an endorsing body and get candidates' names out there when maybe their campaigns are kind of having a slow start. So it's an important role that it occupied. But at this point in time, I have more energy for making sure that we actually have that majority on council and that candidate campaigns are ready to go.
But it seems to me like the important thing is that you set out to create that. You did it. You learned a ton. You learned about where your energy is best put, and something you could circle back to in the future as well.
Exactly.
Interesting. And then Kim, when did you first get involved with a candidate? Is Shelby the first candidate that you've been directly involved with?
No. Okay. So after Valley's Edge, or during that time, I had the pleasure of meeting Bridget, not actually directly involved with campaigning, but because we just met at a coffee shop, because I have a really adorable, probably the most adorable dog in the world. I'm biased, but...
competition.
I do have stiff competition. You're right. She is quite cute. And we met and we, chatted for a second and discovered that Bridget was studied environmental sociology, and I was studying environmental psychology. So we thought, there's a lot to unpack here.
A nerd sesh ensued.
Yeah, exactly. So we became friends.
What year was this?
2022.
Yeah,
okay.
2022.
Early.
Yeah. So we became friends, and then Bridget had let me know that they were working on Addison Winslow's campaign, and I thought, I've been working on Valley's Edge, so I'd love to help with that as well. And so I became the volunteer coordinator for Addison.
Okay.
And finished that campaign out. And then last cycle in 2024, I was the campaign manager for Katie Hawley.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. That's why you look familiar. I just want to say, we've did some good digging into your past.
Mm-hmm.
Now we'll focus on the present a little bit. I will say that ever since you two have gotten involved in city council politics, I think the Democratic Party's done pretty well. And this is a big election for District 2.
Yeah.
Massive.
Yeah.
But I feel confident with you guys working to help out the city.
I run a tight ship, I can't lie.
We do have a good track record so far.
Let's talk about how pivotal this race is. So it's 4-3 now, Republican to Democrat. It was 6-1. So this 2024 election was big with Katie and Bryce gaining seats. This is the swing election potentially. How does it make you feel? I guess in terms of, I don't know, just the importance of it. I mean, how do you kind of manage that psychologically and professionally?
Oh, it's deeply motivating. And I would say that I felt small success when Addison won, because I knew that he was going to be in a minority for at least 2 years. And I knew we were going to have to work that entirety of the 2 years to do public outreach campaigns and popular education campaigns to make sure that folks were ready for 2024. And it was really difficult to watch him be the minority on council. I mean, talk about a psychological weight.
Yeah.
I watched him bear that. And I think we've talked about this, that this is full circle. We have another shot. Every time around feels like we have a shot, but that 2022 election, I had a lot of hopes that the other candidate campaigns were going to win, and it was pretty crushing on election night. You feel the success of the one win, but you feel the losses. You feel them deeply, knowing that it is directly impacting our infrastructure and people's everyday lived experience in town, and that the work is just very, very crucial to just how folks feel safety, how they feel about affordability, how they feel moving through this town, feeling hope. Like, one of the things I heard a lot coming into 2022 was that, or after that election, was that the hope was brought back. It was on the heels of Trump's first presidency, and then Biden got elected, but it hadn't quite hit Chico that there was like hope. And so that's been kind of the main motivator, is keeping that alive.
Yeah. And how about you, Kim? How do you kind of just view the importance of this election personally?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it feels like kind of a redemption moment, because in 2024, we were so close to flipping the council. I mean, Monica McDaniels lost by just a couple hundred votes. So that was so crushing, but we got so much closer, getting Katie and Bryce both on the council. So this feels like kind of a culmination of all of the work that we've been doing over the last 4 years, getting folks in. So it feels like before I was involved in candidate campaigns, I was just attending city council meetings and going and making my public comment and having that 3 minutes fall on deaf ears. And so I, wanted to get more involved because I figured, why not go to the root of the problem? If you're not going to listen to me, then we just elect somebody else. And so it feels like a amazing opportunity to flip the council and have some of those core issues that we've all been dealing with addressed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so for anyone who may be watching this here or online who thinks, I want to be a campaign manager for a city council representative,
Please.
Tell us, I guess, what goes into that, and also, like, what's your daily schedule like? And I mean, you balance it with having a 9-to-5.
Do I?
I don't know. Do you?
No.
No. Okay. Yeah. So what are your days like?
You want me to start? They're heavy. It is running. It's no joke that it is running. It's everything. You wake up thinking about the campaign, you go to bed thinking about the campaign, what's gone out, what needs to go out the next day, how to pace yourself, how to build in breaks, like 1-day breaks, because you really could be running every single day and not get everything done that you want to get done. Mm-hmm. So there's no firm schedule beyond the overarching campaign timeline, which is capacity build, voter ID, persuasion, get out the vote. And everything I do is worked backwards from election day. So if I know I need a certain amount of votes on election day and a certain percentage of turnout, then I work everything, the math, the budget, the volunteer goals, what benchmarks we're aiming for from that point backwards, so that I know how much I can get done and how much time I have. I mean, we're at 98 days till election day right now, and almost every one of those days is planned out with something.
Wow. So each day takes on its own definition in a way.
Mm-hmm. This was big for today.
Cool. Yeah. And Kim, what's your schedule?
I mean, I'm lucky enough to be close friends with the people that I work with. So we start by usually having breakfast together.
That's
and
true.
Drinking coffee, and then just working, kind of co-working all day. And yeah, I'd say I love that Bridget is more of the strategy and the field, and I in the internal, and I get to be kind of the external, coordinating the volunteers, coordinating, across if we are going to meet with unions, or we're going to, do this kind of thing, or just making sure that our people are being followed up with, and scheduling things and stuff like that. And so I get to be kind of the front-facing outward, and it gets balanced out by Bridget's internal organization.
So it's a 24/7 job.
Pretty much.
We're selling it.
The two of you do it like interwoven,
Yep.
intellectually and
Yep.
even physically by meetings and everything throughout the day.
Spiritually.
So that's all people need to
It's
figure out how
really
to
easy.
do.
Yeah. Just don't work a 9 to 5, because there's no time. Make sure that you can just dedicate every day, all day.
No, it's unhealthy.
Moment.
That's unhealthy. We are not working till 3 a.m. this cycle. So that's our new boundary.
That's your boundary.
Strict cutoffs at 2:30.
I think we're discouraging anyone who thought about being a campaign manager.
Honestly, the best part about it is the camaraderie. And so it makes it a lighter lift when there's more people. I think it is what we're up against in terms of like bringing new people into the sphere and training people to take these roles on and feel confident about them is our marketing. We're doing a horrible job now saying it's a 24/7 job, but really I think people think of local politics as like the afterthought, and really it's kind of the bed from where everything blooms, and your neighbors. I've worked with some of the folks in this room for 4 years, and I've lived here for 5, and so I built this depth of trust with folks. And I have this saying that I took from my organization in Minnesota that says movements are built at the speed of trust. And so to be able to work locally and consistently, I think is actually a really big blessing. And when more folks feel like it's accessible work to them, it makes the work for all of us lighter. We didn't print this map. A volunteer had an amazing idea, and we were like, do it, make it happen. I think it's about not taking our roles too seriously and kind of occupying them just by ourselves, but learning how to onboard people and bring them into the work to where they feel like they have the competency to like make their vision for what local politics looks like happen.
Yet you don't, I mean, great answers. Yet you don't, it's not like you have like an official kind of employee roster or list, right? It's just, since it's all by nature kind of volunteer, you have all these people that kind of quote unquote work for you.
Yeah.
Are you keeping lists of the people that help out and contacting and stuff?
Yeah, we're very data driven, and I think a huge part of it is the professionalization of those campaigns. I think that one of the standards for local campaigns across the country is that they're volunteer led, which is the benefit of them. But in that way, you miss out on young parents who don't have the time and don't have childcare. You miss out on folks who maybe are seniors and can't go door to door or can't stay up working late nights or need to work during the day, and young people working the campaigns are working after 5 p.m. There's all sorts of things that make the pool of people who are available smaller. Yeah. And our job is to kind of like open that back up and create systems for where people can plug in. And I think it is often not treated, again, it's an afterthought. It's not treated as a professional endeavor. It's seen really as like this, like, oh, that's nice, you're gonna run. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. We're building an organization. And that organization is essentially a startup that's built, funded, and closed out within 6 months. So there's no room to kind of just do the guesswork. We don't have to make up our strategies. These are tried and true, tested, data-driven strategies that are deployed across the country by large nonprofits that we just happen to bring into our small candidate campaign. Well, not so small, but.
Okay, so the two of you put on a presentation today about canvassing. Yep. This is a physical way to go out and garner votes. You mentioned marketing. You mentioned obviously the apps that people are using while they're out canvassing. What about the potential reach of online marketing during a campaign? I feel like the physical stuff is what I feel like people talk about most, and I in the time that I've been here with DACC, I don't hear a ton about how to reach voters online. Can you tell us, both of you, a little bit about what you do in that regard?
Well, first, door-to-door, one-on-one conversations are our most effective tool. So it's not a surprise that the digital side isn't the main focus, because you really do need people at the doors building relationships with voters. What I see an online program as being really important for is to build a digital base that acts like a microphone. It amplifies your campaign's message to other likely voters, other aligned voters. So you make the campaign sexy, you make it attractive, you make it something that's like, oh, this is a moment. We want to be part of this moment. And it's the visual messaging that brings people in the door and makes it feel relatable, like they want to be part of something. And so it's less necessarily about convincing people and garnishing votes, because a lot of what we're doing is indirect voter contact in that way, and direct voter contact is still the best tool, but it does allow us to find our base and to amplify our voice. Do you have anything to add?
Yeah, Kim, what kind of?
Yeah, I would just say too that the biggest benefit, I think, for organizing online is the garnishing of young, youthful energy, right? And young folks who want to volunteer and go out to make those direct voter contacts. So converting people from being followers or engaging with us online to then working with us in person.
Gotcha. And what specific online mediums are you using that are most helpful? Is it just like Facebook and Instagram, or is it other stuff?
Facebook and Instagram, TikTok, if you can get your candidate to do it, which is a video platform. I would also say Reddit.
Reddit forums as well.
And Chico in particular, Reddit is big. There's a whole Chico subreddit where people are actively online. We had great success during Addison's 2022 campaign with doing an Ask Me Anything, which is a known way of interacting on that particular platform. AMA is often what it's called. And people who would not have otherwise had a direct conversation with the candidate were able to kind of interact on their own terms.
And the cool thing about Reddit too, that kind of differs from other social medias, is it's less stimulating. There's not like as many pictures and videos and kind of this like visual stuff, and it's also more longer format for people to be able to have longer conversations. And generally, Reddit is, at least here in Chico and the subreddits, it is tend to be more left leaning. So there are more young folks who are politically aligned with us on Reddit who want to have these conversations.
Okay, we have a couple minutes left. This is an abridged episode, so I wish we could sit down for 90 minutes instead of 30. So we'll ask one kind of future question. I think the question I had is, what specifically is at stake for Chico here? If Shelby wins, what big concrete things do you see changing or happening in Chico? And if she loses, vice versa, what will or will not happen?
Yep. I have one.
Yeah.
So we're in early 2027, January 2027, the Warren v. Chico settlement, which is the lawsuit that forced the city of Chico's hand to create shelter options. An emergency shelter site known as the Pallet Shelter or Genesis Shelter is set to expire. And Casey Reynolds and others on council and other city leadership have made it clear that it is their intention to then slow close shelters and to return to kind of the enforcement strategies that were deemed illegal in the first place. And we no longer have the Supreme Court case that allowed for that settlement to be made. And so there aren't follow-up protections for that lawsuit for the agreements of the lawsuit when it ends. We're not forced to abide by it anymore. And so what's at stake is returning to the same types of kind of ruthless enforcement, pushing people around without places to go, that got us in trouble in the first place and cost taxpayers money in the first place. So that's the number one on the top of my list, is how we're dealing with the homelessness crisis in our city.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and I think for me, just to build on the back of that, I love the word that you chose, Bridget, of ruthlessness, right? I see a lot of that. And just a general lack of transparency of our government. Chico Soul did an amazing article just recently about the city's collaboration with ICE and their flock cameras that was just not even known to the public at all. And I view that as its own type of ruthlessness as well. And just the emboldenment of what's the word I'm looking for? I want to describe the way that they're trying to replace our park rangers with police.
Emboldenment of authoritarian law enforcement?
Exactly. That is kind of going expanding all across the country, and even here too in Chico. And so I would like to see less of that.
I have one more.
Yeah, please.
On that note.
We got a minute.
So many of you have probably heard about the downtown revitalization effort that failed to get passed, and then we missed the application date for. So that grant comes up again in 2 years. And without the right people on council, whether or not you agreed with the project, we won't be in a position to apply for funding to help revitalize our downtown in any form. So the thing I think about is watching the State of Chico address that Casey Reynolds offered for 2026 and how excited she was for downtown revitalization. I don't know how many people have seen that video where she says, staff have been working so hard on this, our taxpayer dollars paying staff to work on this, and it's a great plan and we're gonna get this passed, only to not agree to apply to it and only to go then on a news cycle and say, well, I didn't know enough about the project. To me, that's a lack of transparency that you're speaking on as well, that impacts our infrastructure, which, again, as we talked about during our training, is crumbling, needs investment, needs attention, needs a strategic funding plan that could easily come from locking off that 51% of Measure H funds, but instead has been used to, again, expand salaries for law enforcement.
Okay. Kim, Michl, Bridget, Blair, thank you so much for sitting down
Thanks, Derek.
with the DACC cast.